Hey everybody, how you doing? Todd here. Party Games with Todd, and I have a very, very special episode today. With me is my friend, fellow professional, wedding professional. She is in the business. She is just awesome. She knows a lot. And this is Mary Jacobs from Mary Jacobs Events. One of the, if you're in the area, you know Mary as one of the top wedding, or I should say, event planning professionals in the Northeast. And we are here tonight. We're going to talk about a lot of things. It is the game episode, so we are going to talk about games. Specifically, though, we're going to talk about games at weddings. Good ideas, bad ideas, pros, cons, everything else in between. And it is time to talk games, party games with Todd. And Mary, the weather's finally turned. It's finally beautiful. The nights are still a little bit chilly,
Yep.
but the days are nice. The sun is out. It's warm. It's in the 70s. It's supposed to be in the 80s in the next day or two. So I'm looking forward to that. You can't see, but I got home from what I was doing earlier, and I took the jeans off. I threw a pair of shorts right on, and now I'm ready to go. So we are here to talk about games. At the end of this recording, we have a very, very special announcement that we're going to make for everybody out there. But let's get into what we're talking about. Like I said, Mary Jacobs Events, one of the top event planning companies in my area. And what I want to do is I want to get into a little bit about you. Please introduce yourself and then go ahead and talk to us about how you got to work from being a venue manager, because I've known you, we just figured it out, 15, 20 years.
Yep.
And how you went from being an event manager or a hall manager to running one of the most successful event companies. And tell us about your journey and tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. Again, Mary Jacobs from Mary Jacobs Events. Whovian, Star Wars Aficionado, hugger, catering consultant, event planner. I do a little bit of everything. So the shortest version of this story is that I was a busser in a catering house when I was in my teenage years, when I was 14. And the banquet manager that night was cutting the wedding cake. I wasn't even working in that space. I was working in the restaurant. And the owner of the restaurant the owner of the house came in and caught the banquet manager cutting the cake and licking her fingers. And absolutely lost his crap. And I just happened to be walking by with a bus tub, and he yelled, "Mary, you're he said, "You're going to learn how to cut a wedding cake right now." And a lot of people that know me know I am a professional wedding cake cutter at this point. And so I was brought in, and he brought me over there. He taught me how to cut the cake. And he was like, "Now you no longer work in the restaurant. You now work in catering." And so I got moved over right then to work a wedding. And I think, and I keep saying this, but I think that wedding was Mike Garassi from Music Man Entertainment. I'm pretty sure he was DJing that wedding. That's how long I've known him too. And so then it just started me on a journey. I worked there all through high school. I was a catering manager. I was managing weddings by the time I was like 18, 19. So I had already done, by the time I even got out of school, I had already done hundreds. And then it just sort of led me on the path. I kind of went sideways. I did a bunch of other stuff. Went to school, did a bunch of things in the meantime, but I always came home, and I always on the weekends still did weddings. And then eventually it became apparent that this was my path. No matter what I thought I was going to do instead, this was the thing I was very passionate about. And so I had long stints at some really big companies, where I was there for multiple years and I sort of made my bones, right? I always tell people I made my bones on the back of a truck at 3 o'clock in the morning, right? In a blizzard. I always tell people I made my bones there. And then eventually, after years and years and years of this, of kind of moving up the chain, I was working for a very large hospitality company, and unfortunately we parted ways. And at that moment, something kind of clicked in me that, I don't want to be somebody's employee forever. I want to live my own dream. So then I kind of started this little plan where I was going to get all the experience that I possibly could. And so I did these like 2-year stints at all these different kind of venues. You were talking about that a little before we got started, about how
Yeah, because I bumped into you at a smaller like boutique type tavern
Mhm.
almost.
Yep.
Like you said, one of the a couple of the really big locations, some medium sized, all brick and mortar,
Yep.
all beautiful venues. You always, I got to say, you always picked very quality places to get your bones, cut your
Hmm.
teeth, whatever you want to say.
Yep. And then eventually, I, was injured for the 1,000th time, and anybody that's in catering understands this. And I was laying there in a hospital, and my husband looked at me and said, "How much longer are we going to do this? What are you doing?" And then I called one of my mentors and I said, "Listen, I don't know if I have the guts to, I don't know. I got to do this. I got to do something." And that person said to me, who will remain nameless, um, "This is a gut check moment, kid. And you talk a big game, but either you have the guts to do it right now or you don't."
I
And
know he is a pretty gutsy person, so
that punched me in the face. So
yeah.
that was it. And that was about, I think I went out on my own about 7 or 8 years ago. And we've tripled our business every year since. And, we're excited. I do not only planning and coordination for weddings and events, but we do hospitality consulting as well. So I still have my claws in catering a little bit.
So basically, this is good because your resume speaks for itself, and we're going to start talking about games now. I see from the DJ's point of view, you see it from the planner's point of view, and the one thing I learned, especially during the pandemic when we would get on the phone back and forth, the beautiful thing is the two of us have very different personalities to a point, but we definitely have differences of opinions. And because I remember us just walking back and forth about this and that, not only, and this was even before we really started getting involved together with working on events together.
Mhm.
And again, that's the beautiful thing about the two of us is we can sit there and go toe to toe, but at the end of the day, it's the client who is, the team that we're working for, and we can always agree to disagree
Yep.
and still keep that good personal relationship, but
Mhm.
also that really good working relationship too. And
For
that's
sure.
what's really important. So this is great. I've come to value your opinion, and I thought you would be a perfect person to bring on to talk about games at weddings, pros and cons, good and bad. And I have a whole bunch of notes here that I want to toss by you. So let's get right into it
Let's do it.
and start it out with that question right there. And now I'm going to talk at weddings overall. So we're talking brick and mortar, we're talking tent weddings, barn weddings, backyard weddings, games. Good idea or bad idea?
I think it's A, venue specific, B, crowd specific. Those are my two big talking points.
So
The logistics of the property, like if games have to be in a totally separate area where they're going to split up the party, and the type of guests you have. If you have a big dancing, jamming crowd that wants to dance, games, yes, but in limited capacity in certain times of the night.
sometimes we as the professionals don't know that because couples, they get something in their head and they want to, just move full bore, not realizing to lean on their professionals to get ideas and suggestions. And I have had games that have literally split, for a tent more specifically, that have literally split the party into two,
Yep.
where the couple has come over to me and said, "Hey, can you get everybody back under the tent so we
Yep.
can dance?" And my hands are tied. I can't tell everybody, "Hey, all right, games are over, shut them down, pack them up, let's come back here and dance."
Yep.
So I agree with that. And I think there are times where games at weddings are better in some instances,
Mhm.
especially when you're having an outdoor event,
Mhm.
cocktail hour. It's
Yes.
awesome. It's
Yep.
awesome. And you bring up a good point when it comes to the crowd, if they're a dancing crowd or not, but usually you don't know that until you know that.
I would say that if you're working, at least if you're working with a coordinator, a lot of times I do know that ahead of time.
Right.
right? So I'll give you a very quick, for instance, a wedding I had 2 weeks ago. The client was telling me they wanted a separate area that had board games and puzzles and all kinds of stuff like that. The DJ and I both were like, this is a terrible idea. This is going to break the party completely in half. This is going to be really difficult to do and not kill your party. And when I talked to the client through, because the DJ was really worried about it, I went and had a long talk with the client and they said, no, you don't understand. We have a big group of friends coming that don't like loud music. They are very introverted. They love each other, but they don't love people they don't know. And we're concerned that they're going to be really uncomfortable and go home early. And when I tell you there were 30 to 35 people down there playing board games and loving their life that had been completely miserable on the other floor with the dance music happening, and were literally standing outside because it was so not their thing. So a lot of times if you're working with a planner, or if you're an entertainer yourself, just an extra couple of meetings to really dig in with them after they have their final guest count, to understand the dynamics of who's actually coming to the wedding. A lot of times they'll have some insight for you.
I would have advised my clients to stay away from that too, until they gave me that information. And then I would have tried to find a comfortable medium. But if you're going to be playing games and board games and cards and dice and things like that at tables, you probably can't have it in the reception room where the dancing is and the music's thumping and everybody's yelling and cheering and things like that.
Yep.
So they had a totally separate room that would, as the DJ, as the entertainer, that would kill me. That would kill me.
I thought the same thing, but it was good. And the people that were in the room danced, really, really danced. So, we, knowing all of that ahead of time, we shrunk the dance floor down so it looked packed all night. And we were able to make everybody comfortable. But it's really important for brides and grooms, or for couples in general, to communicate that stuff about demographics and
so couples. So if there's any couples out there listening, having a quality professional planner that knows this information, when you have ideas that are not traditional wedding ideas, it's really good to have somebody in your corner who is going to be able to talk it through with you. So that's great. So we've got some pros, we've got some cons, good idea, bad ideas. My suggestion would have been to rope off like a little VIP area with the table. As a matter of fact, I do that when it comes to weddings where couples come and tell me that they have a lot of kids.
Mm-hmm.
What I'll do is I'll suggest one corner, if you can put one corner, and I'll actually bring the stanchions and the ropes, and set up a corner for a VIP area, or I should say a kids VIP area where the adults aren't allowed. Put a little sign up, one of those little retractable signs that says kids VIP area. And I have, matter of fact, I'm looking at them right now. I've got some brain teasers. I've got Yahtzee. I've got Trouble, a couple board games, some cards, some puzzles. I got a couple of coloring books as well. And I suggest that they take the linen right off of that table and put the white paper so the kids can just write and draw right on the table too. So while we segued into that, let's talk about
coffee tables and pillows are good for that area too.
There you go. So kids at weddings, which is the whole totally another subject in and of itself. But if you're gonna have kids, have games. Definitely have games. Have a specific game table, and don't leave them to their own devices. Of course, parents are going to bring the tablets and the electronic things, but this is a perfect opportunity for kids to kind of socialize. Adults are socializing at a whole game area that only takes up one table, maybe one 8-person round or one 10-person round. Paper on top, crayons, games. And
we've added to those areas too, where we've done, like I was saying, low tables, right? So low, like cocktail tables with pillows they can sit on the floor. And then we've also added to that a kids bar that had buckets of Capri Suns and buckets of popcorn and pretzels, and they could snack, they'd keep themselves busy. I agree with everything you said on that. And there's lots of ways to elevate it so they can keep themselves busy and entertained and socializing the whole time.
Awesome. So we'll put a pin in that one for now. Come back to that. So the one thing that I have seen in the last, I want to say 3 to 5 years, and the pandemic probably pushed this along a little bit, was more and more the brick and mortar style venues are seemingly, unfortunately, closing their doors, and more outdoor style venues, barns, pavilions, um, are opening up and kind of taking hold. And what that does is it opens up people to a wide range of things. I did a wedding last year at Camp Chingaga,
Mhm.
which for those that don't know, it's up in Lake George. It is I think it's a Boy Scout camp.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It's a Boy Scout camp, and then they also rent it out for weddings. And when I had first heard I was going there, I was like, oh my God, what kind of nightmare place am I going to? I got there, my jaw dropped because it is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's very well laid out. The whole grounds are nice, but this was one of the places where it would be great. And they did have, I think they did have a couple of games, not too many. They just had a couple, but they only had them out during cocktail hour,
That's the ticket.
which worked out perfectly. And then right after cocktail hour was over, they had somebody assigned when people moved in for our introductions that went out and collected all the games, packed them up, and put them away.
Yep.
So cocktail hour games for outdoor venues and events are awesome. I also know some barns that already provide that as an extra service,
Several.
which I
Several.
think is great because I just put music outside for them to listen to.
Yep.
And to me, it's important though that it's only for that 1 hour.
I agree wholeheartedly.
So what kind of experience have you seen where at a venue like that they shouldn't have had games? I mean, shorter weddings maybe, or longer weddings where they need them, or
I think places that don't have the appropriate space for them always end up being a problem. It's not necessary. So there are a lot of properties that, especially barn properties, where it's you have all these separate spaces, right? Where it's, you're having your ceremony on the lawn, and then you're having cocktail hour on this part of on the lower level on this part of the property, and then dinner over here in this area, and that right, where you're moving to all these different places. And then there are some where everything is like this. So when you have everything like this, it's great for your overall party, but sometimes you have to think about the background. I'm always psychotically thinking about photos, right? And so in some of those properties, you have to really make sure you have someone allotted. Otherwise, these games are going to be set up in the background, right? So you're coming back down your aisle and you've got giant checkers or giant Connect Four sitting, you're walking past it, going to your, there's a lot of it for me is logistics, that the property has the appropriate space, that things can be hidden and then brought out and then put away again. Are they already in your budget, or is this something you're going to have to go have custom made? There's a lot of things there that for me, I think can go wrong, and it's really logistical and cost. So knowing the size and shape of the spaces you can use for that, and having someone that's physically going to do it. Because it's great to say we're going to have outdoor games, but who's actually coming and setting them up and breaking them down and all of that stuff?
All right, so I think I've beaten cocktail hour games as much as we can. Let's move to the actual reception itself. During the reception itself, do you think games, good idea, bad idea?
I think they're a bad idea unless you have a crowd that you've tried everything you can try and they still won't dance. And they're hanging out at their tables and they're just not partying. And it feels like the party is kind of like coming to a grinding halt. Okay. I like the idea of having games as a backup plan to be able.
How many couples have you pre-planned that with?
I usually again, this is some background where I'm always asking the couple about the demographics of the people that are coming and partiers and percentage of people that they think are going to dance and party. So if they come to me and say, listen, most of our guests are really like not dancers or whatever, then I'll say, okay, as a backup plan, let's go talk to your DJ. and let's talk through some ideas for games that you're comfortable with, exactly how they work, all of that. So let's have that as a backup plan if in fact it comes to fruition that your guests are not getting up and dancing. So we have something that can still entertain them. What I don't like is when DJs pre-plan to do a lot of games, because then it's like they're killing the dance floor. Not you, but there are some out there that will kill the dance floor and stop the dance floor because the couple insisted they had these 4 games that they wanted to play.
Which is great. Moves me right into my next, an actual game, the shoe game or the newlywed game. Still probably 2 or 3 out of 10 couples like to do that. And I have fun with that. When do you think is the best time to do the shoe game?
Okay, so if we're not using it as a backup plan, we've already pre-planned to do it. I like to do that where I like to do some other things in between courses. I like that after salad has already gone, or first course has already gone down on the table, people are eating and munching and paying attention. As you know, I like to do some other things during that time frame too, so those things would be shifted. But I think anytime that you have people already there and there's natural dead time is when I would do that.
And that's good that you mentioned that, because that also leads me into the centerpiece giveaway. Do you consider that a game?
So I am not a fan of the centerpiece giveaway.
I'm a huge fan.
I know that's one of our differences. I again, for me, the centerpiece giveaway has a lot to do with the venue we're at. So like if you're a local person, you may know this venue. If you are at the Hall of Springs, which is an incredibly formal venue, and almost every wedding you're going to do there is very high end, very formal. I think playing a giveaway centerpiece game is not appropriate in a venue like that. If you are in a barn and people are having awesome barbecue and it's a chill, relaxed wedding and everybody's just hanging out and relaxed and loving their life that day, then I'm okay with it. So I'm kind of on a case by case basis with that.
Okay.
And I'm very much like to hear ahead of time how you're going to do it. Right. Like I don't like the passing the dollar and that kind of stuff. I want it to be something fun, simple, that people are not going to get annoyed with.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So emergency games. Have you seen something happen at a wedding where the music has to stop, but the fun still has to go on? It's not something super detrimental, just something happens.
Yep.
Do you have any experiences like that?
Yeah. I did off-premise catering for a very long time. I've had kitchen fires. I've had power blown because whoever was coordinating that wedding before I was coordinating weddings didn't plan for electricity appropriately. And we had heaters blow up, all the circuits blow out, where now we can't play music. One time we had a tornado come through and the tent got flooded. And so all the tables were floating and we had to try to fix that, but like everyone was still around. So yes, I've had
kind of tough to play a game in a tornado though.
Yes. So the tornado came through right before. So yes, I've had some instances. And again, that's a great place to input something, right? So thankfully, I've had a lot of great DJs that had good ideas at those times, thankfully.
And there you go. DJs, if you're out there watching, entertainers, have a backup plan, have a games toolbox. I say it all the time on my channel, and it can be something as simple as a game where we play heads and tails with the quarter, or trivia questions. Guest of honor trivia is awesome. You can have a lot of fun with it. There are a lot of games that I have on my website and I have on my games channel that you can download, you can keep with you. And if you're in an emergency and you need a game quick, go right out to my website, www.partygameswithtodd, and download a trivia game right there so that you have something in case of an emergency. I was out to dinner 2 nights ago with a DJ colleague, came up from the Hudson Valley, and we went out to dinner, and I told him about what we were doing tonight, and he told me that he was in a situation where one of the members of the wedding party, just as they were about to be introduced, had a little bit too much to drink, and kind of passed out right there.
Mhm.
And they determined that it was better that the EMTs be called and that person go to the hospital. So that delayed their introductions about 30 minutes.
Mhm.
The hall manager's getting a little bit upset, but the entertainment was like, look it, we can't do intros. The EMTs are on the way. And instead of just playing background music for another half hour, they went into their toolbox, they pulled out some games, they did some
Mhm.
games, kept everybody laughing, kept them busy.
Yep.
And after that, they were ready. The party went on as normal, and it was an awesome party. So that's just another case where you never know what's going to happen.
For sure.
Um, that's about it, Mara. As far as I got, I love it. I mean, if you're thinking about games for outdoor events, I mean, you got cornhole, ladder ball, croquet, washer toss, horseshoes, bocce. I've got other games out on my channel where you can play tic-tac-toe with dice and hula hoops and things like that. So there are a lot of resources out there. And if you're not sure what to do, call one of your favorite wedding and event planners like Mary, and she can help you out with different ideas and things like that. So for my
I
couples
will
out
add
there,
one quick I will add one quick note, and I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I will add one quick note. Make sure that if you're hoping to add those games to your outdoor area at your venue or somewhere at your venue, make sure that you check with the venue first, because some venues only allow certain types of games. And then if you're going to add other games, this is not every venue, but there are some venues that if you're going to add things like bocce or cornhole or something like that, where things are being tossed, horseshoes, anything like that, where they will literally make you sign. They will have you sign limited liability, like hold harmless waivers for all of your guests. So before you do anything, check with your venue.
I'm
Always.
just thinking about the old school jarts. Remember the
Yeah.
pointing?
Yeah, well, we were a little tougher in the all right. We weren't afraid of lawn darts, but it's a frowned upon in this establishment now.
So there's a whole bunch of games out there. I've got ideas out on my site, so don't forget. We have our surprise coming right up. I just want to tell you, if you want some more information, you want ideas, if you're couples, you're planners, you're entertainers, check out my games group on Facebook. It's Party Games with Todd, or also my website, www.partygameswithtodd.com. There's also supplies and ideas where you can get games and a lot of different ideas. So that's awesome. Drum roll, Mary. Do you want to go with the surprise? You want to tell them the surprise?
I think you should launch it. This is your great idea that I'm super excited that I got to come along with, and I am really stoked about this one.
So Mary's been nice enough to agree to come on. We are going to branch off. I'm still going to be doing my games talks and my game stuff, but we're going to add something new to it, mainly for all the couples out there that are getting ready to plan their wedding or in the middle of planning their wedding. We're going to start another one of these video podcasts, and it is going to be called Real Wedding Talk with MJ and the DJ.
Yep.
That was her idea. MJ and the DJ. Mary Jacobs and the DJ right here. We're going to start doing that, and you're going to see your first video coming out next week. And we're going to be talking about I got the ring. What's next? So that's going to be our very first podcast. What happens right after you get the ring? And you're going to see that next week, and we're going to try and post it all over Facebook. So make sure that you're on Facebook. It's also going to be right here on our YouTube channel as well. And we got some great ideas. I'm not going to spoil it. We're just going to say, hey, come along for the ride and let's have a good time with it. We're going to take your questions. We're going to have, you know what? That's all I'm going to say, Mary. That's all
I think that's it. I think that's it.
All right, so you're done here. Thanks again for coming along with Party Games with Todd and my talk with Mary Jacobs from Mary Jacobs Events. Mary, you got to slide over so we can all see the sign. We got to all see the sign behind. There you go. There she is, right there. All right, folks. I hope you had a good time with this one. And remember, the summer is here. Have fun. Keep smiling. And whatever
And may the force be with you all.
Game on.